Jean-Yves, if someone would tell you that it's not possible to compete on an elite level in two classes, let's say C1 and C2, what would you say to that person?
I think is that we see that in many other sports, like for example kayaking on flat water, like swimming, like running, and for me it's all the same.
What are the challenges for you to coach in three classes, K1, C1 and C2, and how do you manage this?
Most of the time when I speak to an athlete, I imagine him while he's paddling. And now when I speak to Fabien or when I speak to Denis, I don't know if I speak to Fabien K1 or Denis C1 or if I speak to the C2 paddler. So you have to, for me it was quite disturbing at the beginning. For a coach, for one class, it's hard to be very, efficient on all the topics. And when you have three classes, it's even more difficult. So my position is more, a little further. Try to manage the project, deal with all the facts that are coming, and there are many facts. For example, how will they get selected for the Olympics? And I work a lot more with other coaches for the technical skills also. I prefer to work like a teamwork to coach them.
So this is quite a unique role. What do you like about the role?
More different things to deal with, but I like that. I prefer to deal with many different things, even if I'm not so good in each one. Prefer to manage with many things. And also what I like in the new project is that I have some new fields to discover. Like I told you just before about the selection rules, for example. Now I have to make the French system understand that if they want Fabien and Denis to succeed, or if we want that one day it's possible for paddlers to double the classes, we will need to make new rules and new racing programs. And that is another part of my job I didn't have before.
What do you think is the main difference between C1 and K1 on one hand and C2 on the other hand?
So the main difference for me is you're a single and you're a double. It means you're paddling for your own, or you're paddling for your own and someone else. I think this is the major difference for the two classes. We discover every day that it's hard to do it. But on the other way, every day we discover that it's paddles C2, for example, brings to the C1, brings to the K1. And for example, Denis and Fabien have improved their power in weightlifting for 20% just by paddling C2, because in C2 they are more often with very hard strokes. So they now got some more power in the single classes. But now the new problem is that how do they use it in the single class?
Is it physically and mentally possible to compete in two different classes?
I mean, it's not a question of energy. It's more a question of concentration, and how are you able to repeat the concentration and the fighting spirit several times. For me, this is more the mental skills will make the difference. Yeah. You can believe it's 2 times harder, but you can say it's another chance to succeed. So it's another way of thinking, seeing the problem or the goal. For me, you should always try, when you're a competitor or when you're a coach, try to see the positive things, how to make them run.
Do you believe that Fabien and Denis have the potential to become faster than the world's elite? For example, the Hochschoners or the Skantars?
They have some skills that the Hochschoner don't have, because they are paddling K1, they are paddling C1, and they are very good in K1 and in C1. So there are some things that the Hochschoner hasn't learned while they are paddling C2. And so I think this can be an advantage. I think the single class helps Fabien and Denis to improve their individual skill much higher than if they would paddle only C2 for all their life. Yeah. So for me, it doesn't mean that they are better athletes, but they develop more skills, I think so. And so when they come together, if you are able to make them work together in the same way, I think they can be more efficient.
I just mentioned the athletes, like for example the Skantars, but there are others like Peter Kauser, Michael Martikan. What they all have in common is that they are from smaller countries compared to, let's say, France or Germany. What do you think in terms of system and approach are the differences between these smaller and bigger countries?
So, what do I think? When you go to Liptovsky Mikuláš, for example, you see this town, this river next to it, and you have a competition, like a national competition, and the kids, they are this tall, and are racing. And it looks like in Slovakia, for example, paddlers are starting very early. I also have the feeling that they are multi-skills. They practice many different sports while they are young, because I heard that Slovakians make a lot of climbing, a lot of skiing, a lot of swimming, a lot of running. Their system is individual. I mean, what is important is that this athlete will get the results. That they think more about the individual than we do. We are more like school. This is the way of doing, and we have a lot of people coming, and of course, if we do it well, there will be some good paddlers, and French team has done that for years. And it's two different ways of doing. I think the two are good.
How do you see the future of canoe slalom or canoeing in general?
All what we think about should be how do we remain at the Olympic program. So the first thing is to understand what is the IOC policy. So for me, the first thing is to be universal. And for me now, slalom and flat water are not universal sport of paddling. I mean, I think if you take all the paddlers in the world, the paddlers who are racing in slalom and those who are practicing racing in flat water, I don't know which number they are, but I think it's nothing compared to all the paddlers in the world. So if we want to be universal, we have to make our sport grow in a way that we will represent more the paddling sports, not only slalom and flat water. Rog goes to the World Championship of freestyle in Switzerland. This is what I understand. He says, oh, slalom, flat water, look, there is another sport using a paddle.
Should we simply live with the fact that more men than women are canoeing?
We have parity, so for me there's no way. We should be 50-50, men and women. I saw the results list of the Olympics, and there were two sports who didn't have parity. It was boxing and canoeing. For swimming, it's not called swimming, it's aquatic sport, you know. And this is not slalom, this is not flat water, this is paddling sport. Doubling the classes is really a very important point to make our sport be more representative. I mean, adding competition with more athletes at the start, so longer races, adding more girls at the start, and keep the same number of medals.
Is there something we could change in the sport?
For me, it's too complicated to organize the world in canoeing. You need a 1,000-meter lake, and you need a river that costs so much. And when you look at all the Olympic sites, 92, okay, it goes on. 96, Atlanta, never. 2000, okay, we come here for training, but there are not so many competitions. 2004, some training camps every 2 years. Beijing, we will go there again. So it's such a lot of money that is just not so used. Again, that for me, I think we should think about shorter courses, maybe more steep, maybe less water, and find a way to change the race format, to have a very small place and to have the competition for a longer time.